All right, good morning, everybody. Hopefully, hopefully last night wasn't too hard on too many people. Couple things. First off, welcome back. And how many new people do we have in the room? Because I'm looking at the crowd and I see several new faces. So if you're brand new to the conference, raise your hand. All the way. You can raise your hand. Yeah, you go ahead. It's not going to hurt anything. So I just want to say welcome, obviously. And it's great to have new faces here, right? Because that invigorates all of us as well. So thanks for coming. Couple announcements before we get into the agenda this morning. So lunch today will be food trucks in the parking lot. Again, grab your lunch from those folks. Come back in and visit with the vendors, right? Because the vendors, what did I say? Vendors will be outside. So visit with the vendors outside. Just grab your lunch and look for the vendors and go where they're at. And spend some time with them. That's the point. Spend some time with them. This evening, 6 p.m., we'll have the after-hours networking over at the Highlander Brewery. It's about a half mile from here for those that would like to participate in the Beer Fun Run. Meet in the Convention Center lobby at 5:45, ready to run. So everybody that wants to run, 5:45 in the lobby, ready to run. For the rest of us, we'll figure out how to get over to the brewery, and then everybody will meet over there. There's going to be pizza, there's going to be food trucks there, and then we've got a live band, North Fork Crossing. They'll be playing, and then it's going to be a networking event as well. Fire Marshal's Forum will take place during breakfast tomorrow, so grab your breakfast in the foyer, then head into the Bitterroot Room for the meeting for the Fire Marshal's Forum. And just quickly, folks that are planning on attending the DNRC Equipment Development and Communications Center tour or Saturday morning, can you raise your hand so we kind of know how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, less than 20? Okay. So they can get ready for that tour and know how many people to expect. So we'll go into part of the partnership with the board of directors is our ex officio members. So in those ex officio members, we have DNRC, FSTS, fire marshals, and DES. So we'll give them a few minutes to allow them to come up and give you a brief update. But before we do that, we wanted to recognize the emerging leaders meeting, conference, cohort that we did at the beginning of the conference. And so Dustin will talk to you a little bit about what that's like.
Yeah, thanks. So we were really excited this year to do this Emerging Leaders program. For anybody who's been to Fire Rescue International, they do a one-day pre-conference, which is called Chief's Edge. Myself and Chief Hopple, who's around here somewhere, we've been through that. I'm sure, Rich, have you done that as well? It's a really great program, and it's really a bunch of emerging fire service leaders and leaders getting together and going over a lot of the challenges that they're seeing in the fire service today. So we built a program that mimics that. We surveyed all of the folks who registered. They sent us their survey results back that basically said, hey, I'm dealing with recruitment retention, multi-generational workforce, a lot of different aspects, or a lot of different challenges that we're all seeing right now. And so we brought this group together, and it was all paid for, from everything from the travel to the hotel to the meals and everything. And we brought this group together, and everybody from Chief Osborne over there, the chief from Butte, down to a 13-month firefighter from Frenchtown. And we sat everybody down, went through some scenarios, went through these discussion points based on the challenges that they submitted, and it was just a full day of just discussions back and forth. It was really, really great. And so with that, I wanted to have all of our emerging leaders for the first cohort stand up that are in the room still. Come on, stand up. You'll see they have a little ribbon on their name tags as well. And so give these guys a round of applause, because I think myself, Chief Hopple, Chief Calnan, and then Chief Coy from Wyoming, we were the facilitators of that. And we all walked away from that going, wow, there's a there's a great group of fire service leaders up and coming in the state of Montana, and so we were really excited about it, and we're going to continue to do that year after year. And so if you guys have folks in your organizations who are really up and comers and who could really benefit from a program like that, get them signed up next year. Thanks. And I got to sweeten the deal on the run. You get a free beer for the run, and you get your 50-50 tickets, and you get some prizes too, maybe. So sweeten the deal.
You just have to weigh out your values, I guess. DNRC, Dave.
Morning, everyone. David Hamilton, for those that don't know me, I'm the County Co-op Program Manager for the Fire Protection Bureau at the DNRC, filling in for Chief Matt Hall this morning. It's been a little bit of a busy couple weeks for us in the agency, and Matt had to go yesterday to Helena to deal with legislative stuff and whatnot. So I'm pinch hitting a little bit this morning. Really, our update's going to be pretty quick. Want to talk a little bit about the recap of 883 money and our preparedness money that we were able to secure a session ago, and hopefully we're going to try and recapture some more of that in the coming session. With that, just kind of the recap on what we did was what we called increased preparedness spending. This summer we were able to put a Type 1 tanked Chinook on contract for 120 days. Was based out of Billings, but we moved it all over the state, and pretty well everywhere in the state saw some use of that aircraft this summer. We were also able, through our Northwest Compact, to grab a large air tanker out of Alaska, the state of Alaska. We were able to bring that down. It spent most of its summer based out of Billings and supported a lot of fire in eastern Montana. We also were able to put on, for a short period of time, 4 single-engine air scoopers, the little Dromedary air scoops, or water scoopers. We were able to put those on. We were also this year, we put 2 Type 2 IA crews on contract for 120 days. They did a combination of fighting fire and project work, working in some different offices, working on prescribed fire units, and doing some prep for some fuels projects that we had going on in each of the areas. At some point in time through the summer, I think about July, we were also able to grab a air attack platform from the state of Minnesota, and we brought it over, and it hung out here for probably 30 or 35 days as well. Flew a fair amount of fire. And then the other thing was we had a call when needed contract for an IA or an IR detection platform. We successfully mapped 27 large fires with that platform when we couldn't get any other national resource. And that platform also, in a course of mapping fires and doing some flights after lightning storms, was able to pick up 13 detections through their IR intelligence on the fixed wing. And then kind of moving into some other things that we were able to do with some of that funding. We've secured the funding and have ordered 3 new fixed wing aircraft for our Cessna fleet, our aerial detection fleet. So we'll be replacing those. Hopefully we have those here and on board before the 2025 fire season. And the other thing that we'll be doing with those aircraft we are buying sensor packages, IR sensor packages for each one of those aircraft. So not only will we have new aerial detection platforms, but they will have IR capability on them as well. And then the other big news from an upgrade standpoint, we were able to add to the MT-205 fleet. We were able to put aircraft in service last year. It actually fully became in service this year. And in the course of us building that new aircraft, we upgraded our tail booms that we're using on our aircraft. And we were able to secure 4 more tail booms to finish upgrading our other MT-205s to bring them up to that same standard. So that's a pretty good ticket, pretty good money thing. The only other thing I just want to talk to this group about, and mostly because a lot of this we look to our partners, which are it was the fire service in Montana. We are moving 2 legislative concepts forward this year. One of those is going to be a prescribed fire training and liability concept, where we are looking to do some changes in law to fix the liability piece and help our collaboration efforts in the prescribed fire component, allowing us to do a little better job of coordinating prescribed fire on private and state both. So that's going to be a big deal. So hopefully we can get that moving. And then the other one, and this is, everybody's going to be really excited about this one, I'm sure. For those of you that know, 1/3 of our program is funded, our suppression program is funded through the wildfire assessment program. For several years, that has been at the max. We're capped out. We can't move any more in that. So this year, we are moving forward to increase that cap. It's currently at a $50 cap. We're looking to move that to $58 and some change, I believe. And then we're also looking to move the acres that's currently capped at 30. We're looking to move that to 62 cents. The caveat to that is we're not going to immediately just increase our fund or increase those right to those caps. We're going to hopefully get that back into a pace so that we can move those and increase those gradually. The plan being that we've come up with is that we would be able to increase that, and that would sustain our program for another 8 to 10 years before we hit that cap again and reach our maximum assessment fee. So those 2 things are what we're going to be pushing forward in this upcoming legislative session. And as always, look to have the support from the fire service in those pieces. And aside from that, I don't really have much else. It's been a quiet year.
Let's see, Troy, you want to come up? And while Troy's coming up, I'll just say, again, when you look at the model of the relationship between the Montana Fire Service and DNRC, we often say this, and I think it probably gets said enough that sometimes we take it for granted, but we got a model that's not replicated everywhere, and we can't take it for granted. So at times where we may have some differentiation in ideas, we've got the State Wildland Committee that helps work some of those things out off-season, so that when we've got fire season in front of us or it comes time for legislation, we can present a unified front on there. But having the opportunity to travel around on different boards and this and that and see what's out across the United States in different regions as far as wildland is concerned, this truly is one of the best models that's out there. And so that's a valued relationship that we have to keep in place, and appreciate all the work that you guys do on that, Dave. Troy.
Good morning. For those that don't know me, my name's Troy Peterson. I'm with the Fire Service Training School. I work in the North Central region. John Culbertson wasn't able to be here today, so he extends his apologies for that, but asked me to fill in a few things. So first and foremost, I'd like to kind of start out. We have added a new position to our staff. We have Claude Wido. Anybody that knows Claude, he's assistant chief for Gore Hill Fire. Has been on staff with us for a number of years. We've moved him into a trainer and the certification academy manager. So all of our certification academies work for that you'll be dealing with your local representative as well as with Claude on setting those up and making those as successful as we can make those. A few other things going on. So we just completed some local academies this year that we've really been moving into that mode of trying to support your mission locally where you're at and regionally where you're at. So we've been doing, we did the academy in Columbia Falls. This is the third one that we've done in the last 3 years with Columbia Falls. Has been very, very successful, has worked very, very well for the region. We are on course to do that again this year. We did the first one, we just finished up last month with Red Lodge, hosted a Firefighter One Academy. That worked out extremely well. We were able to work with departments from Columbus, Red Lodge, Zorkey, who else am I forgetting in there? Oh, and Bridger in there as well. That worked very well. So that model that we're looking at of coming in regionally and assisting you within your regions of setting up academies is something that we really want to try to continue to move forward so we can help bring that to you and support within your region. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, please reach out to one of your people within the district or reach out to Claude, and we're happy to work with you on trying to get that set up for certification academies, all on those regional academy delivery piece. To that end, to supporting those, we've gotten a few props. We got a roof prop in this year. We've used that a couple of times this year. Completely mobile roof prop allows us to do any of our roof tactics that we utilize. We used it for Haver. Haver was able to certify their entire department in Firefighter One. They were able to do the overwhelming majority of that directly in-house. So we were able to bring that prop there. We used that prop for the Red Lodge Academy as well. So it functioned very, very well for that. So we can move that around. To supporting that as well, we just got a $335,000 grant for a non-burn mobile prop, or we're going to actually get a couple of these. These are going to be multi-use props. So while they're non-burn, we're still going to put that LED system in them so we can still do the exterior, interior fire attack tactics. We can still do firefighter rescue. We can do some of the enter, isolate, search stuff through those. So we're still going to make those props work and function for that. The roof prop that we have, we're configuring that as well so we can do some of the second floor enter, isolate, search things. We should have the non-burn mobile props in within the year. Between those two props, that's going to allow us to come in and do a complete certification program in-house or in place within a department or within a region. So that's going to dramatically help us in helping support your local mission on what you guys need for doing certification. We are currently working heavily on the NFPA 1001 standard, has gotten merged into this big conglomeration of the NFPA 1010 standard. So that's all of your support personnel, driver, operator, the Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2 stuff in there. We are completely going over trying to meet that 1010 standard right now. We're looking at and overhauling all of our certification programs. So over the next year to 2 years, you're going to see some updates to those. We're making some of the tactics that we're using a lot more user-friendly, a little more specific to the way we're doing the work within the confines of kind of how we're structured with needing to meet the NFPA JPRs in order to do that. So fairly sizable project in getting all of that done. To that end, a brand new standard that's out there is support personnel. Has not been out there in the NFPA system so far. We're working on that right now. That should be available here within the next couple of months. And so support personnel for those personnel that a lot of the departments have that are not actively fighting structure fires or not necessarily fighting wildland fires or not wearing an air pack really kind of specifically, but need some mode for certification for being able to go through their job and their tasks for that. We're going to have that program available so that very similar to how we do the Firefighter 1, we're going to make this as user-friendly as possible. So a lot of the open resource testing, things like that we've been doing, we're going to continue to do that with the support personnel. So if anybody wants to talk about that a little more on what that looks like, again, that should be available within the next couple of months. So that's all I've got from us.
I'm Dirk Johnson, the State Fire Marshal. One second here. And I guess a little update on us is we now have 12 full people, 10 deputies throughout the state, and one admin and myself. So really our biggest update is everybody familiar with NFIRS going away and nearest coming in? So there's going to be on October 29th, there's going to be a launch of 100 more departments that are going to be enrolled in that. And that's going to be, and there's also a platform launch and rollout that's from 11 to 12. And I don't know if you checked the latest or the state chiefs, they put out a letter that shows when that'll be, and you can get on there and see how it's going to be. I wish I had a bunch of information on how it's going to work, but I really don't. We've tried to attend everything and see what it's going to be all about, but it's supposedly going to roll everyone with a third party. What am I trying to think of? A third party vendor that does the NFIRS now will roll into NERIS. I don't know if it's going to be able where you can go back into NFIRS and look for information from the past 10, 20 years or how that's going to work yet. But again, that's October 29th. We also do fire investigations for out in the counties that aren't certified cities, and then we do inspections of all the buildings out in the counties. With that, that's really all I have. Does anyone have any questions on if you need to call us for an investigation or anything like that? I'm sure I've talked to some of you on the phone, but I've never met you. All right. Well, that's about all I have. Thanks.
Morning, everybody. My name is Brett Lloyd. I'm the Response Bureau Chief for Montana Disaster and Emergency Services. We've had a pretty good year this last year ourselves. We got some funding from the legislature to expand. In the last 5 years, we've gone from 17 people to almost 40. And one of our priorities this next legislature is to see if we can beef up our Recovery Bureau. One of our roles is to help local jurisdictions who are dealing with incidents manage information, manage resource support from the state level, and then transition to recovery. Right now we have over 100 different recovery and mitigation projects going all the way back to before the Yellowstone floods from last year. One of the ways we help the fire service, of course, we work real closely with DNRC, and our local district field officers work real closely with the locals, but our typical role for our district field officers is to either tie in with that local emergency manager, possibly the local ICS structure, and provide information and, if needed, whatever resource support we can to the community, for example, supporting shelters, things like that. With the large-scale windstorms that we had here in May, and then, of course, here in Missoula this summer, Miles City, a couple other communities, we do have quite a few recovery projects that DES is working on. We're looking to bring on at least 2 or 3 more folks for that. We manage multiple grant programs, the Homeland Security grants. We have a new cybersecurity grant, and then, of course, the EMPG and the hazmat grants that some of you are probably familiar with. We're looking to bring on 1 or 2 new grant people within the next month, and hopefully if we get some funding from the legislature, we'll expand that recovery branch to help those local jurisdictions like Missoula that are still working to recover from those very large disasters. I think that's probably all I've got. We do support Emergency Management Assistance Compact, or EMAC missions. We've been getting a lot of requests from the Hurricane Helene and the Hurricane Milton impacted states to send down resources, everything from ICS teams to National Guard assets to public health assets and volunteer coordinators. So we're looking to expand our capabilities in that respect to help our neighbors both out of state and in state. We work closely with DNRC and some of our other partners on the Interstate Mutual Aid Committee. And with that committee, we're also looking to develop a better resource requesting system for EMAC through our shop. We manage the State Emergency Coordination Center, which we're looking to expand, bring on some more folks, some more capability. And we are also looking at developing a Web EOC replacement, which would be an enterprise license available to all of our local jurisdictions as well as our state partners. And hopefully that will also help facilitate resource requesting and situation awareness on some of those larger scale incidents. Any questions? All right, thank you.
So to kind of reiterate, you know, on our board, we have those ex officio members for a reason, right? And that's so we can keep a pulse on what their needs are and how we can help out there and vice versa. That way they can know what our needs are as an association and as organizations across the state and can help us out. And then on the legislative front, which happens to be the next thing on the agenda, is then that way we can figure out how do we support each other to get all of our missions accomplished. And so quickly, legislatively, you heard talked about the from a DNRC perspective, a couple of things that they're going to run up, the flagpole. We want to touch real quick on GEMT, which is a provider, an EMS provider payment method through the federal government. That these funds are already set there and can be used if we have a state plan. Well, last legislative session, there was a plan that was put forth by our private EMS providers to take advantage of some of these funds. There were some questions on the program as to how well we could participate and what that looked like. At the end of the day, the bill passed, but it got vetoed at the governor's office because of some language in the bill that put some very specific target dates on that were probably going to be almost impossible to meet. Some amendments were made to it. It went back to I believe it was to the House, got passed there, but before it could get through the Senate ended their session. And so it didn't get put back in place. That bill has been reran. It got picked up by an interim committee, and what it looks like so far is no opposition to the bill. However, through the State Chiefs Association, we did hire a consultant company called by the name of AP Triton, who's been very successful in building some of these programs across the country. And what we've advocated is that we can use both programs, the program that, and what you have to, I'm trying to keep this somewhat simple, is the program that was put in last session's bill, public providers and private providers can both participate in. And what we're generically calling the GMT, that's only open to public providers. The difference is the other bill left a lot of money on the table. The GMT picks that up. And so we're able to pick up a balance of some money and possibly generate more money for the state, incorporating into that. So the language that we're proposing takes both programs, allows them to enact both programs so that all our EMS providers across the state will have a benefit. It went through, the original bill went through the committee, passed through the committee. We were kind of late in there getting some drafting done and whatnot, but the plan is that the committee's approved it. It's going to go to Senator Fitzpatrick out of the Great Falls area to carry the bill. Then it'll get reassigned to Representative Ed Buttrey, who's also out of the Great Falls area, who was the original carrier last session. I know this is kind of a long story, but it plays out that Representative Buttrey's seen our language, he's in favor of it, and we're not seeing any opposition to this thing. Plus, the state gets to make some money on it, so we think that's going to be the carrot that helps get across the board. But that's a big deal. There's still some work looking at the Fire Authority bill. We've got kind of shot down the last several sessions over that, and there's some intricacies in that that we're working on, but there's still some interest, and even in an interim committee, to bring that back up and look at it and see how we can work out those intricacies to get the Fire Authority bill over the threshold there. And again, that bill would allow all of our fire jurisdictions, regardless of size, makeup, to be able to form a fire delivery organization. So right now in state statute, Class 1 cities are really the only ones kind of by themselves. That the only option they really have is mutual aid. This would allow those organizations that want to do this to be part of it and just be a tool in the toolbox. So we're still working on that. We think the time has come that it needs to be a tool in our toolbox for those communities that think that would work better for them. We don't know, obviously, what this next legislative session is going to look like. We do know that there will be a lot of work on tax reform, whatever that looks like. I think that's a no-brainer to anybody that's in the crowd. We know what that looks like. Historically, last session, there was a lot of effort to come after mill levies, to do supermajorities, passages, those kind of things. There's absolutely no doubt that those will be there again. And we will do what we can to fight off any of those that will negatively affect how we operate. I know Leagues of Cities and Towns has done some resolutions as well to say that they are willing to work on tax reform and help out with that process, but we can't cut systems that are funding essential services. But nonetheless, we know that'll be out there. And for the breakouts yesterday, I didn't get over to the volunteer side, but it becomes what we mentioned on the combo and career side of things. It becomes incumbent for you to know who your representatives and senators are. Because the reality is they don't understand all of the intricacies of this legislation that comes across. So when they're looking at something that deals with a mill levy, they may just see X, Y, and Z out here and go, yeah, we need to manage this, but they don't understand sometimes that with the stroke of a pen, they could actually cut funding levels for essential services. So it becomes very important for us locally to be able to have that conversation with your local legislators to get them to understand how sometimes broad-based coverage can't work or shouldn't work. We ran into that last legislative session where one particular senator kept running these bills, and we'd go up into the Capitol building and meet with him beforehand and go, you know, we're going to be here to oppose this. And he's like, I don't understand why you're here. It doesn't, we're not aiming for you guys. It's like, yeah, but this blanket language that you have in here does affect us. He was willing to write us out of the deal, you know, to make an exemption, but the problem is we're doing that at the last minute right before it goes to a committee hearing, and that's not the time to be doing it, right? So we know that's going to be out there. So the other thing is obviously affordable housing is a big deal, but what gets incorporated that and sometimes is the attitude of go, well, we can make more affordable housing if we reduce the codes that affect the housing. So that is going to be a big deal. We'll see that come up to where there will be situations guaranteed where they want to reduce some life safety codes to make something seem like it's more affordable housing. The problem is we all know that once that building's built, we're stuck with it for the rest of its life, right? Nobody else has to deal with it once the building's built and the occupancy's signed off unless they try to remodel it or something like that. We know it because we've got to protect it. We've got to deal with it for the rest of its life. So that will be a big deal, no doubt in my mind, when that comes up. Probably the biggest message out of this legislative session is we don't see a lot of things that we're actually going to be trying to push for. I think most of our efforts this legislative session will probably be a defensive mode to try and keep the opportunities to keep our mill levies in place, those kind of things. Because keep in mind, there were bills last year that even if you'd passed a mill within the last couple of years, it would have made some of this stuff retroactive. And what we're talking is like 5-year limits, 5-year sunsets, this kind of stuff, super majorities. And it's like you can't hire people based on 5-year money. You can't buy apparatus based on 5-year money, that kind of stuff. So that's all out there. From a legislative standpoint as well, and we got a guest that'll speak on this a little bit when he gets up here, but We are involved as well with the Western Fire Chiefs Legislative Committee that helps us take what's going on in the 11 western states, our neighbors, and try and figure out if they've had a best practice that we can pick up on, steal ideas from, or if we've got something going that they can learn on. So that legislative committee is active as well and working there. Any questions? That's a real brief overall view of the, I'd say keep in mind we are part of the Fire Alliance, but I will tell you right now, I think the Fire Alliance is having some struggles. Right? It was based on five organizations at one point in time. One organization went away, the fire service instructors went away, so it gave us the 4. We've since been notified that the fire wardens it's not that they don't want to be part of the Fire Alliance, they financially can't continue to be part of it. So we're trying to figure out what does Fire Alliance 2.0 look like. And from the Fire Alliance standpoint, what that really means is that's a unified front that all of the associations stand up in front of the legislature and present a unified front. We do have very good working relationships with the State Council of Professional Firefighters, the union. During the legislative session, we're usually in contact with them almost on any key issue on a daily basis to help each other out there. So that helps. They're not part of that Fire Alliance from a financial standpoint, but what that Fire Alliance did was fund our lobbyist. So we got a short period of time that we'll have to talk about what 2.0 looks like, but it's critical. We might actually have to be coming back to the departments a little bit and figuring out some alternate funding mechanism. But nonetheless, we need that out there. Any questions real quick legislatively? Hit me up later and I can get into more detail about stuff. All right. Sponsors, we want to give a few minutes to our sponsors of the event. And there's a few of them here, so I'll introduce our first one, Hyman Fire Equipment. Are you in the room? Do you want to say anything? Going once? Going twice? How about Hughes? You want to come on up and...
Good morning to you all. How's everybody doing today? For those of you in the room that don't know who I am, my name is Andy Siebers. I work for Hughes Fire Equipment, the HFE sign that's to my right of the stage here. We are primarily the Pierce dealership in Montana, but you can see all the other companies that we and I represent. We have got a really good working relationship with Brindley Mountain. We do a lot of work with them, and Skeeter Brush Trucks, BME, on and on, Emergent Technologies, ETD. So I'm here to help you guys however you need, and also I want to say that I really appreciate being here. It's always an honor to be here for the Chiefs Convention. So hope you all have a good week, and we'll see you later.
One of our new sponsors and is keenly interested in this GMT program would be Pintler Billing Services. Did you guys have anything you want to?
Morning, everybody. My name is Garrett Graves. I'm from Pintler Billing Services. We're a full-service billing service, so you send us the information from a trip report or an incident report, and we deposit money in your account. So that's we like to work a little magic, but come talk to me. I'll be at our table all day. Our owner, Leslie, will be in a little bit later this morning. Come see what we can do for you. We got strategies to keep your taxpayers happy, whether you're looking to bill for MVA or incident responses or medical stuff. I know we got a few clients in here, so hope to see everybody around. But we're drawn for a Yeti cooler, so come chat with me and put your name in for that. It's free, and hopefully you win. Thanks.
And he hit on it. I was glad he did. But Pintler They do the EMS billing, but they've also started just normal incident response billing. So there's other third-party companies out there as well, but they do that too. And I'm butchering this. Is it IROL or is it IROL? You want to come on up? IROL. I mean, it is IROL too, but just saying.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Heidi Lacefield with Inspection Reports Online, also known as IROL. Thank you for inviting IROL to be a part of your conference this week. We are extremely excited to be here. For people that do not know what IROL is, we are a secure web-based program for third-party web-based reporting. So we are, in regards to that, it would be uploading of ITM reports, pre-planned programs as well. But more so, I would like to state that IROL believes in bridging people, processes, and technology, because that is what we all currently are using in the field at the moment. So again, thank you for your time this morning.
All right, and we have a representative from FirstNet, built by AT&T. And as he comes up, I can't help but introduce him, Chief Hank Clemens, past president of the IFC, one of the past presidents.
Good morning. So I'm from Chicago, first of all, so it's a pleasure to be here. This is really beautiful country, and it's been a while since I've been here. But so I currently am a consultant for FirstNet, but I want to give you a little history because a lot of people don't understand that FirstNet is a separate network for just first responders. It was started back when I was on the board. We passed what some of you more gray-haired chiefs in here may remember as D-Block, and passed around 2012. Took a few years to get the governance. We created a separate board, which we call FirstNet.gov, and they went out to bid to get this this network built, and AT&T won the bid to build and manage it. It is not a AT&T network. They're building it, but it's a federal network for first responders, for you. It is your network. And we went around to every state, got approval, and they set contract prices. So the idea is that you pay a reduced monthly fee because we still have to run the network, and it's less than you would pay for a commercial network, a few dollars. And that money all goes back to FirstNet to maintain the network, to provide updates. And you may have just heard that the government gave FirstNet another $10 billion, which is going to be used to build more towers, especially in the rural areas around here. You have quite a few of those little areas that may not be covered. And the idea is that commercial carriers aren't going to build a tower that's only serving a few people. So this $10 billion will help put towers where first responders need them. We also, it'll go towards upgrading the system to 5G and 6G. And I'm not quite sure what 6G is going to do, but it's part of the keeping the infrastructure of the network available to you as the first responders. This month we also was through another third provider called AST. We launched 5 satellites. Eventually, you will be able to, if you don't have coverage in a certain area, you will be able to still have coverage through a satellite. No other network does that. So if you don't have FirstNet, I strongly suggest that you look at it, make sure you have the coverage in your area for FirstNet. And if you do, We have a booth in the, with Michael. And the idea here is that there's two types of plans. There's a plan for a fire department, if the fire department's paying for it. And there's also a plan for the volunteers and the combination departments. It's called subscriber pay. So you can get FirstNet. It's just that it goes through the department, but the user pays for it. The volunteers pay for it. It's called subscriber pay. It's a great system. It works. We have over 150, almost 200 different assets that we have around the country. So if there's a disaster, like the ones from the hurricanes, we send these assets, these SATCOLTs, blimps, rapid deployment sets, to these areas so that you can get coverage immediately. So just remember that it is a separate network. It's for you, for the first responders. And we look forward to having you join FirstNet. We have over 6 million connections already, covering over 28,000 different agencies. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks, Rachel.
All right, thank you. Do we have a representative from General Fire Apparatus? Yeah. No? Okay, well, we want to recognize them as one of our sponsors as well. And our last sponsor I want to recognize would be WHA Insurance, so Jeff Griffin.
We all wear a lot of hats. You know, a lifelong friend, Rich, if you look at what he does here with this association, running his fire department here with this association, active with the Westerns, active with the Internationals on different committees. All of you do that. And my company, my business, we do insurance risk management, but we're not here to talk about that. We support Chris with Rocky Mountain, does a phenomenal job. He's got your back. I'm actually here as a volunteer working for this guy, Mark Niemeyer. He's the president of the Western Fire Chief. I am his division secretary and the lead division secretary for the International Chiefs. And I want to take just a minute and brag about this association. You know, you look around the room and you see all of these hardworking chiefs, and you don't realize the impact that you have. Josh Waldo is our president of the International Chiefs. This guy is on every committee, everywhere I go. I don't know how you do it. And the reason I want to stress this, later today, is John Tester in the room today? Tomorrow. Let me tell you the importance of what you do and the impact that you have. Right now, tied up in the U.S. Commerce Committee, the Senate side, is a bill that impacts all of us, the lithium-ion bill. Now, everybody on both sides of the aisle supports this. It passed the House, and it was known as 1797. It is tied up in the Senate committee. They support it. But what happened is, in a short time, this is crazy right now in Washington, D.C. They're shoving stuff through as fast as they can, and a lot of it has to do with votes. This is an easy one for everybody to pass, but it's frozen right now in the Senate committee. Their side of that bill was called 1008, and it stalled because they marked it up, which means it's got to go back to the House, got to go back and forth, and takes forever. We've got about 2 weeks. A lot of bills are going to be signed. So John is on that committee, 14 members on that committee. 5 of them are Western folks, our folks. We're working all of them. The lead, the chair, is Cantwell out of Seattle. So we were up in Seattle last week working all the counties around there, getting a hold of her. Here's the cool thing. If they will just support H.R. 1797, the House side of it, and push it through, it'll get signed into law, and we need this bill. You've seen the fires that lithium-ion batteries are causing around the country. This is a big deal. And he is a friend of ours. Quietly, there'll be Rich and others that are going to be bending his ear, trying to encourage him to move it forward. I'm going to talk about one other bill that's important to you, and that's PSOB. I think most of you know that PSOB 1719, I think it is, has cross-aisle support, but it picks up cancer for our firefighters. If it is a recognized cancer that firefighters get, this bill will add it to PSOB. So your firefighters, if they have cancer and pass or are left totally disabled, they'll get, I think it's right now about $484,000. And it includes volunteers. Now, what we're trying to get done behind the scenes, this state, the Westerns, the Internationals, is get that bill tagged on to an emergency funding bill that'll happen in the next couple of weeks with all the hurricanes that have happened. If that goes through, we'll keep you posted, but that's a big deal. You look at what you do, the footprint that you have. If you want to have fun, go online, pick an East Coast State Chiefs meeting, annual conference, and go to it. Take your family there, vacation. Some of them have a lunch as their annual conference. You do business. You just listen to the business that you're doing here at the Capitol, the business you're doing with Westerns. Be active. Next year, get Next Gen here. Get your neighbors that aren't here. Get them engaged. This is our profession, and it's important that we continue to lead. Westerns are going to have a conference coming up. I think Mark's going to talk about that. Get there. I do want to mention one other thing. There's a conference coming up, and many of you have attended in the past, called Northwest Leadership Seminar. It's in Portland. It'll happen March 5th through the 7th. World-class speakers there. If you've got somebody who's an up-and-comer in your department and you want them to get 2.5 days of solid leadership, send them there to Portland and look it up. There'll be flyers around tomorrow on Northwest Leadership Seminar. Incredible speakers. Be safe, and thank you for your commitment to this profession. It's, I think, the most important service that we can give our civilians. Be safe. Thank you.